Hikaru, not a very long day today.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple things, obviously. First of all, Jan's very fortunate because he's in the situation where he seems to be playing for draws and then winning with black. Like, he's like being solid with black and then winning with black. So, I mean, if you're going to win every game with black and you have the white pieces, like, I mean, what can I really do? I thought about changing it up, but when I played the RCC right before I left the States, I played against Firouzja, actually, and I played a Sicilian, and he just, like, killed me. I just got absolutely destroyed in that game, so I didn't think the risk-reward was there, really.
How much does that weigh on you? A recent game, as you're saying, against Firouzja, if that game hadn't happened, do you think you would have been more likely to play the Sicilian?
Maybe, but also there's a problem that I played Richard yesterday, and I was looking at a lot of Sicilians before the game from the white side. And so even when I look at it from the white side, the problem is I think a lot of people forget that Jan, he only had to face e5 in the match against Magnus, but he obviously did a lot of preparation across the board, and it didn't seem practical. I mean, if I think about the risk reward, even if I were to win the game, I don't think the chances of me catching Jan were very good, since I have black against Ding in the last round. So I didn't think that makes sense. And then if I lose the game, of course, there's no shot at second place either. So it didn't really make sense. And I had a feeling Jan would do this because, I mean, let's be honest, Ding is not going to win the last 3 games, I don't think. So it's just, yeah, it's what it is.
Hikaru, I know you're focused on your own tournament, but a quick question about Alireza. What do you think might be behind his overall lacking performance, and how disappointed were you in the fact that he lost a pretty one-sided game yesterday?
Oh, I thought you were about to say.
Other than the 5 AM
how disappointed was I that he lost to a match?
Right, and how disappointed were you that he couldn't even beat a commentator in a hyperbullet?
Yeah, I mean, I thought what he did was fine if the intention was to make a draw. If the intention is to just make the quick draw with the white pieces, then I think it's completely reasonable. But as soon as he went c4, I had a feeling that it was going to go downhill. And I mean, he was fine. He was fine out of the opening, but it just you can't play till 6 AM and then play a game of classical chess. And actually, that was kind of the thing, is when I think about when I was in Berlin, I think that I was playing something after the first game against Wesley. But I think I knew quite well that I was going to be solid and try to draw the second game. So like I already had that in mind. But if you're going to play a lot of blitz or bullet and then play a classical game against a top player, it's ill-advised. And I understand he was trying to let off some steam, but at the end of the day, it's too much. It's just too much. So
yeah,
that's my general take on it. But you know, I think a lot of people have been critical of Jan. They feel like he's gotten a lot of gifts. He's been lucky. But you know, when you play well throughout the way he has, I mean, you make your own luck, and so I think it's very deserved in terms of how Jan has performed.
And something you mentioned here is, you know, you're still in the fight for second place. So you played Ding Liren in the last round. So if you are within distance of him, or you know, I think what you're maybe implying is that you're willing to take a risk in round 14, but not this early. Yeah,
I mean, I think the big difference when you look at it overall is, well, I guess first let's back up. First things first is that if you look at the way, I'm going to use Fabiano as an example because he's the best example. Fabiano has been playing every game, taking huge risks. So it's very clear that Fabiano does not believe for a second that second place is in play. It's very clear that he thinks Magnus is full of baloney. let's put it that way. And I generally have the same attitude as well, but I still want to have a chance where maybe there's that backdoor option where I can get to second place. So yeah, I mean, if I have a chance, we'll see what happens. You know, the situation obviously determines a lot, but realistically, I don't think it's there. But it's still something where if there's a chance, you want to have that possibility.
And what would you think about that? Like, you want that possibility, but a world championship match not featuring Magnus Carlsen, is that at all odd to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very weird that the best player in the world suddenly doesn't play. Especially when he's very clearly the best. Like if you go back in time, I'll look at Fischer. I assume Fischer probably would have beaten Karpov, but it's kind of close already after 72 if they play in like 74, 75. Whereas Magnus, I don't think you can look at it and say someone else on paper is going to beat him. It just doesn't look realistic right now. So it's kind of strange to hear that, but I mean, maybe Magnus, he's tired and he wants to do other things. So he wouldn't be the only one. I mean, I've certainly transitioned away a bit too, but. Yeah, but I mean, poker is one of those things where it's fun when you have a deep run in a tournament, like you did in the whatever it was in Oslo. But I mean, if you go into like the main event in the World Series and you bust on day 1 or day 2, it's not really very exciting. So, and that is going to happen if you play tournament poker. So, yeah, I mean, maybe he'll find other things. But at the end of the day, I think he said it in the heat of the moment. I think he's done a little bit of trolling as well. But I mean, if he doesn't play, I'd be shocked. I just don't buy it.
I mean, we asked Jan this yesterday, and we were wondering the players, like, what kind of input would you give about a world championship match? Because it seems like for Magnus, that's a big part of it. I'm sure the lack of prize fund relative to how chess is growing is also an issue. But what would be your preferred format for a world championship match?
I think the thing is, when you look at the candidates on the world championship, they're very different than other tournaments. So for example, I'll just use the Grand Prix or the Grand Swiss. I spent a couple of weeks preparing before the Grand Prix in Berlin. Just a couple of weeks, that's it, nothing special. I think everyone else did the same. So you kind of go in, you're sort of freewheeling. You're not freewheeling, what's the word? You're sort of just going in and you come with ideas on the fly. Everything is on the fly. Nothing is really set. And when you play in the Canada's tournament where players have like 6 months or more to prepare, everyone's repertoire is very, very solid, and they have a lot of really, really good ideas. So it's very different. It's just like, if I go play the US Championship, people will prepare for maybe a month before the event, if that, and you go play. So everyone's coming up with things on the fly, whereas in the candidates and the World Championship, you have months and months to prepare. So because of that, there's far less room, I think, to kind of be creative and take chances. And I think for Magnus, that's probably why he's so frustrated, because it's not fun having to prepare for the Petrov for months on end. I mean, he had to deal with it with Fabiano and obviously Jan as well. So I think that's maybe the thing, is perhaps if they had it where it wasn't such a long break, where let's just say this tournament ends today and you go play the match in let's say September, for example. I think that's probably the biggest thing that could be done right off. To also make it more exciting, because if players have 6 months to prepare, you're not going to have many decisive games no matter what, because that's the nature of chess. If you're well prepared, you play a good game, it's going to be a draw. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would suggest changing, which doesn't require like adding rapid or blitz or other things into the mix.
Mm-hmm. One more question for me on a slightly different topic. This is a 14-round event, super grueling. You're no stranger to 14-hour streams and incredibly grueling online events. Do you feel like all of the focus that is required to conduct a long stream and keep up a high level of chess online helps you keep your level of play sharp as this tournament nears its conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought in the Grand Prix as well, it was definitely the case. I think I alluded to this, but when I was playing against some of the younger players, I think Yasipenko in particular from Russia, it seemed like he was getting tired before I was getting tired. I was kind of confused because he's half my age. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a different skill set, but just being sharp for so many hours on end, I think it does help. And also when I'm playing against really strong players online nonstop, that definitely it makes a difference. So I think for sure it's helped me. But I think probably the biggest thing that's helped me with this tournament specifically is that I had the experience in 2016 playing the candidates where things really didn't go my way at the start, and I was able to kind of win a couple of games in the middle, had a decent result. And like to use an example, I think like for Ali Reza, if he had the right people around him who were sort of like keeping him calm, telling him that you'll get your chances later in the event, I think it could have been very different. Yeah, no, but I mean, I think it could have been very different. But I think the problem is he doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have people around him telling him to just like, you just stay solid. There are going to be opportunities, and like even if I look at my games, I didn't win yesterday, but I got this opportunity out of nowhere against Richard. And those opportunities, you're going to get them in a really long tournament. And so I think that actually is the biggest thing, is the fact that I had that experience in 2016. It's really helped me just sort of focus on one game at a time and not really think about the bigger picture.
And well, how much classical chess can we expect to see you in, and has the candidates inspire you to play more?
I mean, we'll see. I don't have any classical tournaments planned in the next 6 months at least, so I don't really know. I'll probably play the Rapid and Blitz in St. Louis at the end of August. I think there's like 960 there too. Maybe I'll play something in India close to the end of the year on the World Rapid and Blitz, but
not the Olympiad.
No, but the Olympiad, I mean, there are a couple things. First of all, it's right after this tournament. Normally the Olympiad's in September or October. It's in the fall as opposed to suddenly being in the summer. It's very far to travel. The event, certainly, it's going to be a little bit weaker than usual as well without I think, China or Russia. France also doesn't have their top players. So I think it's just a situation where you pick and choose. I think one of the things with all the tournaments online and over the board now is there's so many events that people are not going to be able to play everything. They're clashes no matter what, and because of that, you just have to pick and choose. You see Maxime, Ali Reza skipping. They're playing, I think, the Grand Chess Tour event instead, if I'm not mistaken. So we're in a world where there are just going to be more tournaments, and you're not going to see all the top players playing in every single event because it's just the nature of what happened with the boom. So yeah, and then just as far as classical, I mean, maybe if a tournament like Gibraltar returns in 2023, I might want to play there. I've always had great memories there. I think I've won that tournament like 4 or 5 times, and it's one of my favorite opens, and I've always enjoyed that. So maybe an event like that, maybe Tata Steel, but it remains to be seen, of course.
Well, of course, we'll see you online a ton, but before we let you go, any parting thoughts about the games here? I mean, Ding Liren, he wants to continue his winning streak. He's got the white pieces in the upper right side here against Timur Rajabov. Do you like the opening that he's gotten, or are you thinking that Timur's done a good job?
I mean, I actually hate the opening. So it looks like something where if they have 30 minutes and they're nearing control, maybe it's something where you can get play, but with Timur having an hour 50 on the clock, I mean, I have a feeling this one's going to fizzle pretty fast. That's just my guess. Yeah, I mean, it just looks. I don't know. I have a feeling that if the players had less time, this could be dynamic. But I'm guessing Timur is going to find a way to simplify this pretty soon. Although apparently computer likes black here, which I guess makes some sense perhaps with the pawn on b5. Maybe black has e4 c file. I mean, I actually, the more I look, especially the more I think I'd rather be black than white here, because maybe bishop b7, rook c8, and rook e8. And I mean, black has very obvious ideas, and white, I mean, for white, you need like so many moves. Like after bishop b7, let's say you play knight d4, but after rook c8, it's like you need so many moves. You need like queen d2, rook c1, castles, rook d1, and then knight e2, just I think to possibly claim anything. And I think that feels like way too much to expect here. And at some point, black might even just have a6 somewhere to just simplify everything on the b file. Yeah, I don't like this at all. I kind of wonder if Ding's going to get into some trouble in this game actually, because it looks. Yeah, this is not what you want. This is definitely not what you want. So, not that surprising. But also, that's why it's good to be the leader, because when everyone has to chase the leader down, you're seeing people take risks. You have to take risks to try and catch the leader. And I mean, it seems like in this tournament, whenever people have been creative, whether it's against Jan or whether it's in other games, everyone's gotten punished. I got punished against Timur. Fabiano's gotten punished a few times. Everyone who tried against Jan, obviously. So it seems like the moral of the story is when you try really hard, just it's not working. And Ali Reza also had that happen too.
Fair enough. And actually, really last question, I promise you. Ding Liren, we had him for an interview, and he said, in response to what do you think should happen if there's a tie for second place, he said it should be played out over the board.
Yeah, I mean, if it matters, of course. Like I said, if it matters, then yes, I think there should always be a tiebreaker. Actually, FIDE changed the rules, I think, for this candidate's tournament, where if there was a tie for first place, unlike in the past editions, there would be a tiebreaker. So yeah, if it matters, there should be a tiebreaker. But again, it's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it.
But
basically,
if this tournament ends in a tie for second, do you think the players should say we should play it just in case?
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. Probably that is one way to do it. I mean, whether FIDE goes along with that, I mean, who knows? But yeah, I think if the players got together and said, let's just play some kind of tiebreaker, I think that would be a reasonable way to resolve it. And yeah, see what happens.
Okay, the only thing we have to resolve is: are you wearing pineapple socks?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I wore them in Berlin as well. My mods gave them to me, so yeah, I figured I would do that.
Well, props to the mods. Thank you so much, Hikaru, for joining us, for sharing your thoughts. And the game wasn't long today, so enjoy your double rest day.
Yeah, thank you, guys.